Hello, it's been a while. I apologize. I had to take care of some business. Personal business that, well, I'm still not entirely sure I completely took care of, but I adequately dealt with it. Now, I think in the spirit of me coming back, we should talk about something that you need to be aware of, and that is werewolves. Now, for some reason, werewolves seem to encroach upon our territory more than most other supernatural creatures. That does not, of course, involve us and our spawn, like ghouls, childer, other vampires. Those will obviously be more prevalent in your city of residence. But for some reason, the pesky mutts seem to make it into our cities, and they try to rip us to shreds. Now, the thing that you must understand about werewolves first is that they're mutts. They're nothing more than that. We call the humans kaif because they are just cattle. They are nothing more. And werewolves should be referred to as mutts because that's all they are. Now, to illustrate my point, a dog is able to bite and snare and tear at a human, possibly even killing one. A human, however, is smarter than a mutt. Now we, vampires, are much more intelligent than a human, but werewolves are not much smarter than a mutt. Instead, they compensate by being bigger, stronger, and more ferocious. In fact, something you need to understand when dealing with werewolves is that you cannot and should not take one on head first. You should not say, "Oh, I've got this," and bring out your blades, your silver bullets, your whatever you think you have, your claws, and then try to fight a werewolf. It won't go well for you. Even if you have 5 other vampires, or even possibly 10 if that werewolf is meant for combat, you might not kill the werewolf. I would say that only our elders, maybe a 5th or 6th generation vampire, might stand a chance against a werewolf who is not made for combat, who's not a warrior werewolf, as they refer to themselves. But you have to understand something. All werewolves are warriors. Even if they don't practice being warriors themselves, they can rip most vampires apart. Now, we are stronger than humans. Our bodies are far more durable, but they're not as durable as a werewolf. Werewolves are also much stronger, and aside from just resisting things, seem better at combat than we are. Even Assamites with their celerity, or the Bruja, or the Gangrel, who will go at people with claws, they will be ripped to shreds by these werewolves. So don't engage a mutt head on if you have a problem with that. We are vampires. We deal with other things than just hitting stuff until it dies. I mean, that's a brutish method of doing things. We leave that to the mutts. No, we are much more intelligent than them because, once again, they're stupid. They're very stupid. All they want to do is fight. And any group, even if they have some semblance of, oh, we're more than just warriors who rip things to shreds, they either succumb to that base urge, have one of their numbers is just that brutish, hulking monster, or they themselves, those who preach that, oh, we're shamans or whatever else we're supposed to be, succumb to the urges of being these brutish monsters. You will also find that there is usually one in the werewolf's midst who wants to be a brutish monster, who wants to murder and kill everything that moves because they're a warrior at heart. Or the whole tribe or group or pairings of werewolves that you find will just evolve into mindless raging beasts because that's really what their nature is. Now, yes, I said groups because werewolves are not usually creatures that like to be alone. They like to have a pack. Again, just like mutts and other wolves, they like to be in a pack so that they can feel accepted or whatever stupid reasons they have. But regardless, when you find one werewolf, there will be more. That is why you need to use your brain when dealing with werewolves, not just your claws, bullets, swords, or whatever else you have, because you won't win. Again, we're smarter than them, so let's use that. Let's practice vampiric traits. When the mutts come to the city, they don't understand much of the city. In fact, they are usually out there in the country being what humans call hillbillies or hicks, and they don't understand things like the internet and other stuff that moves with them lights. They're just not very intelligent. And because of this, they're very easy to exploit. Now, in addition to them not being intelligent in technological matters, they are also unintelligent in how society acts. They don't understand the concepts of manipulating someone, of finding their weakness and driving a dagger straight into them, while keeping them alive, of course, because the pain on someone else's face could bring you a little bit of pleasure, or at least echoing those emotions of what you once felt as a human of pleasure. Now, werewolves in the wild are a different story. If you are traveling, usually werewolves come, hunt you, rip you out of a car, and then attack and try to kill you. This is why we don't generally like to leave our cities. There are many dangers involved with traveling, and werewolves are one of them. The reason why they're able to do this is because werewolves in the wild are good at tracking, yes, but after interacting with one and making it my unknowing thrall, I learned that they have this ability to smell us out. We have a scent of something they call the worm, or the taint of the worm, something. The worm is their bad everything, I guess. It's kind of like the sunlight is for us. The worm is to them. But not all of them can smell the worm on us. Some can, some have to try to smell it. But if you have a bit more humanity left, it is harder for them to smell the worm. Found this out. Now, how do I know so much? Well, I used my brain. I was much smarter than the mangy mutts and put them under my thrall unknowingly. Now, how would you do this? How would you put a werewolf, a potential problem, under your thrall and make that bane a boon? Well, you need to figure out a common enemy first. This is the usual way of doing it. If you figure out a common enemy, let's say a rampant mage, I'll talk about those some other time, or some other rampant vampire that's just tearing up the city that you need to deal with, you can make that a common enemy. Now, if a vampire is just tearing up the city and that vampire needs to die, but you don't want to do it because it'll make you look bad, well, you can send the werewolves to do this. Now, why would werewolves want to kill a vampire? Well, you could say that this vampire has a taint of the worm on them, which they might go for it, they might not. You could try to go through these little political pleasantries, or you can do something that vampires do. You can actually make political machinations happen. You can have schemes work out in order to make the werewolves believe that you are their friend, which of course you're not. I mean, it's as much as a human is with a hunting dog, or, well, they're more friendly to their hunting dogs. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. You want to treat them as the lesser beings that they are, because they are dumber. And they're not you, a vampire, of course. So, when you want them to hunt this vampire, you need to learn what these werewolves love. All werewolves seem to love the earth. They called it something with a G. I didn't care to listen. But they called it something. They have their own word for the earth, and they love to protect the world. Good, they're hippies. We can use that. The werewolves will want to protect the environment. So you can say that this vampire is leading this part of a corporation to dump things into the ocean or deforest a populated forest, whatever. You can make them think that's the case, and you can forge papers. You could have fake evidence put in front of them. And then you could have the werewolves go and kill that vampire. And when they ask why you help them, you would say that, well, it's a bad image for one of our vampires to be destroying the planet that we all live on. At this point, they may not trust you entirely, but that's a good start. Another way to make them your unwitting thralls, aside from having a common enemy that you engineer to be a common enemy, if it's not a natural enemy, is to isolate them from their pack. If a werewolf is more of those warrior types who want to go and fight things, they really can't think. They're especially dumb. I mean, they're all dumb, but this one's next level dumb, and that makes it perfect for manipulation. All you need to do is continue with your plans and schemes. Make it look like this werewolf has gone against the pact, or make this werewolf convinced they have to do something. Record it, get evidence, whatever else, have it conveniently leaked to the pack, and make it so that the pack just wants to isolate themselves from that werewolf. Find a way to make this werewolf alone, scared, unsure of what to do in life, and then tame them. Use that mutt. Make there be the common enemy with the environment. Make this mutt think they're doing a good job. Make them think they're servicing the earth or whatever stupid morals they have in order for you to gain a perfect pet. Now again, werewolves, while being dumb, are very strong and are good fighters. They will get the job done. So you could essentially have a pet werewolf at your beck and call. If you are having trouble isolating a werewolf, which is by far the best way of doing it, you can... I have heard some princes do this. You can try to take something that's precious from the werewolf. You could take their... what do they like? Dogs? Dog food? I don't know. Whatever they want, and you could hide it. You could show them images that you have their precious whatever, and you're willing to destroy it at a moment's notice, possibly in a slow and painful manner. This will keep them for a time, but I don't advocate for this. I have heard people state that you could do this, but personally, if you try to do this, I think it will backfire and you will be ripped to shreds. A werewolf will eventually, even though they're a dumb dog, they are able to smell and figure things out, that after a while, they will get back their precious whatever, their dog food, whatever they have. And then they will come after you. This is not good. Again, facing werewolves in combat head-on is not preferable. Not even for an elder, although it's more iffy. And if you think you're a strong prince who could take them on, you're going to die horribly, most likely. So do not try to extort a werewolf overtly. You don't want to make it obvious. You could make it so that these special things, let's say a dog that they have, is hidden and it was taken away. And you try to figure out with them, what's wrong? And eventually they'll open up because they're distraught and they have no capability to do anything themselves since they're a dumb mutt. And you'll say, interesting. I think I could help you. Maybe I could use my connections and we could figure this out. You try to become their friend. And in this way, you could make them lose something important. But you start to gain friendship through trust, through making them believe that you have their best intentions, which of course you don't because they're just stupid mutts. But you make them think that, which shouldn't be too hard. After all, you are a vampire. You are very experienced in these matters of subtle manipulation, laying false blame, setting things up. Maybe you have to make a vampire to fall who's, saying negative things about you and your rule and possibly trying to take over your spot. And this is if you're a prince. Then you might be able to take care of those vampires. Now, for those of you that aren't princes, I would highly recommend that you don't try to deal with werewolves. I would highly recommend that you do whatever the prince wants and just give him a werewolf pet while being loyal and swearing fealty to your prince. Why do I say this? Not just because I'm a prince, but because if you have a werewolf pet, and other vampires know about it, and vampires will, because once again, vampires are smarter than humans. We're smarter than just dumb mutts. We'll figure these things out. You'll probably want to flaunt this werewolf at some point as a bluff to show power, whatever else. When vampires know that another one is keeping a werewolf, that is not good for the other vampires. The vampire who has the werewolf has a very potentially useful tool and ally that makes them a huge threat, even to a prince. And werewolves are bad in combat to face, so vampires will, instead of going after the werewolf, possibly go after the vampire. And since vampires are cunning and intelligent, they'll be a far greater threat than what most werewolves would be in this situation. If you are not a prince, you will either swear loyalty to your prince and have that werewolf serve the prince, or you will die your final death. I mean, that's what will happen. There will be a showdown, and either you will die by the prince or you'll become the new prince. There's not really an in-between because of the power that a werewolf brings. So I would highly recommend you not to try to get a werewolf friend if you are not the prince. All these tips are primarily for a prince or soon prince to be, though. So, what do you think of the mangy mutts? Do you think that you have the skills and capability to tame them? I know they're dumb, and you're quite intelligent and talented yourself. After all, you are one of us. I mean, maybe you're not a Ventru, but you could come within eyesight about 300 yards away. You get the idea. You're better than mangy mutts, and you can manipulate them, even if you're some lowly idiot for a vampire. Now, in order to continue getting tips like this and to figure out how best to deal with werewolves, you need to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for more information. I would like to hear from you, though. What do you think of the mangy mutts in our world? Have you attempted to tame any? Have you attempted to make the mutts part of your arsenal of tools, or have you encountered one? Have you dealt with them firsthand and realized the devastation that they can bring in combat? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below, and I would highly recommend to only try to get a werewolf as a pet if you are a prince of your domain. Now, until next night, stay safe.